Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. And in today's video, we got a very exciting video because today, officially, I guess, is the start of the NBA season. At least, when I'm making this video. I'm making this video on Monday night. The NBA season doesn't start until Tuesday. But I wanted to go ahead and get some content up for NBA on Tuesday. Give you guys my early thoughts on this opening night slate. We have two games on Tuesday night, Lakers and Nuggets. And then we have the Suns and the Warriors. Two very fun games. I'm excited to watch both these. I'm excited to see what my Lakers can do this year. But we got a two-game slate, and for these DFS videos, guys, we're going to go game by game. We're going to talk through each one of the games, every game on the slate. Obviously for today, it's just two games. Looking ahead, though, to Wednesday, we do have a really big slate on Wednesday, 12 games. That video, will probably be a little bit longer than this one. These slates, like two-game slates, will probably be kind of shorter videos, and then we'll have longer videos when we have more games like we do on Wednesday. But we're still going to try and give you guys, I'm going to try and give you guys as much information as I can just when it comes to, the slate as a whole, pricing. We'll talk about rotations. We'll talk about projected starting lineups because I think that's very important early on in the season. We don't have official confirmed starting lineups yet, except for the Lakers. The Lakers have confirmed their starting lineup for Tuesday night, but the other three teams, we don't have their official starting lineup yet, but I can talk about what I think the starting lineup is going to be, and we'll just kind of go from there. But we'll talk about, plays I like, pricing, and just kind of the whole thing. So before we do get started breaking down this two-game slate for opening night, guys, as always, if you guys do enjoy these DFS videos, if they do help you out, please hit that like button down below, guys. I really do appreciate the likes. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And if you guys are new to the channel, I do want to give a quick shout out to PrizePicks because PrizePicks is the sponsor of this video. You guys can check out PrizePicks, linked down below in the description, or just when you sign up for PrizePicks, make sure to use promo code NOAH. You will get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you do sign up for PrizePicks with my promo code. And for those of you that have never heard about PrizePicks, they are a player prop site, a little bit different than Draftkings and FanDuel and some of these other DFS sites. PrizePicks is more of like a pick'em game. You're playing against their projections. So as you can see, they have projections posted for Tuesday night's games. They even have a ton of stuff up for Wednesday already. You can take a look at their board, see if there's any projections that you think are either too high or too low. You take more or less on a player's projection. It's that simple. And I do want to say that right now, PrizePicks does have a free square available for opening night. As you can see, Steph Curry's points prop is set at 0.5. That's a free pick that PrizePicks is giving you, and you just have to find any other pick or picks that you like to pair with that free square. On PrizePicks, they do offer a lot of other sports outside of just NBA. Since this is an NBA video, I'm sure a lot of you guys watch the NBA, you follow the NBA, so you're probably going to take NBA picks. But you can take NFL picks, MLB, whatever it may be, whatever sport you like, PrizePicks probably offers it. So take a look at their boards, see if there's anything that stands out to you. Make sure to use that free square before it does go away Tuesday night. And if you're not on PrizePicks yet, sign up, use that promo code NOAH, and you will get your first deposit matched up to $100. But yeah, guys, let's talk through the two-game slate for opening night. Really excited for this one. Let's break it down. We're going to start off with the first game of the night, Lakers and Nuggets. And we'll start off on the Lakers side. So as I said at the beginning of the video, we do actually already have the Lakers confirmed starting lineup. It's going to be D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, Taurean Prince, LeBron, and then AD. The big question for this game when it came to the Lakers starting lineup was who was going to start in place of Jarred Vanderbilt. Looks like Jarred Vanderbilt probably not going to play. He's considered day-to-day. The fact that he's not starting makes me assume he isn't playing here. Vanderbilt was a starter last season. I assume when he's healthy, he'll be a starter this season. So it's going to be Taurean Prince getting the start in place of Vanderbilt. We'll just start off at the top with LeBron and AD. LeBron and AD obviously are the two guys that are really going to dominate usage on this Lakers team. They're going to be the two guys, getting just, doing a lot of the scoring. Obviously, AD is a great rebounder. LeBron can get assists. LeBron, just like the last few seasons, since he's been on the Lakers, we haven't seen like a huge ceiling from LeBron. He did have some big games in the postseason, but obviously the postseason is a lot different than the regular season. Guys are playing way more minutes in the postseason than they are in the regular season. LeBron would consistently give you like 45, 50 DraftKings points a night. Rarely did he go out there and put up like 70 DK points and break the slate. So in terms of like upside, I don't think LeBron has like the highest upside. I think he does get up for these games, like these opening night games. I think he wants to play well in these type of games. But he's definitely not my favorite pay-up option on this two-game slate. I'd rather go to Jokic, who we're going to talk about. I think I'd rather play AD for a little bit cheaper. You have Steph, you have KD, Devin Booker on the slate. So in terms of like a floor perspective, I think LeBron has a super high floor. But it's tournament upside, I think, is a little bit lower than some of these other guys. AD, I definitely like in tournaments. AD has typically been he's actually been a better point per minute player than LeBron has been since AD's been on the Lakers. He's been a better per minute producer. I think AD really he plays really well like on FanDuel and on Yahoo where you get 3 points for blocks and steals. AD can really put up big games on those sites because he's a guy that can get a lot of blocks and a lot of steals. But even on Draftkings, he can get you the double-double bonus. He can still go out there and put up 50, 60 Draftkings points any night. He's coming in a little bit cheaper than LeBron is. I wish that he had power forward eligibility on Draftkings. He's center only on DK, which makes him a little bit tougher to roster. But I think between LeBron or AD, I think I like the ceiling on AD more. The floor on LeBron might be a little bit higher. But I definitely think in tournaments, AD's the guy I would prefer if I was going to roster one of the two Lakers bigs here. The matchup against Jokic, probably not like the greatest for AD, but AD's had some success against Jokic in the past. When they played in the postseason, he had some big games against Denver. So definitely like AD here. I do prefer him over LeBron if just choosing between the two. And then Christian Wood, new addition for the Lakers. Probably not going to be someone that we want to really consider on this slate. He's just too expensive for what I think his role is going to be with this Lakers team. I'm assuming that Christian Wood is just going to back up Anthony Davis and just be the backup center. I don't know if the Lakers are going to want to play Anthony Davis and Christian Wood alongside each other. They probably could. Like AD could play the 4 and Christian Wood play the 5 or vice versa. I just don't know if they're going to be willing to do that. And if Christian Wood's not going to play minutes alongside Anthony Davis, then he's probably just going to get the backup center minutes. And at that point, if we project Anthony Davis to play 32, 33 minutes, well, then Christian Wood's only going to play like 14, 15 minutes at that point. So I don't really see getting to Christian Wood here at 6,200. I think he's definitely overpriced for what his role is going to be. Not someone that I'm super interested in. But I think in the mid-range, I think D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves are both viable options here. We saw Austin Reeves really turn a corner last season. Was a guy that in the postseason was really good, was a good fantasy producer. And you wouldn't think Austin Reeves, playing with LeBron and with AD, that he would, be able to carve out like a really big role. But he was a guy that had a decent usage rate, not a super high usage player, but he can score offensively. He can get assists. He is a decent rebounder for a guard. And at 6,100, I don't think Austin Reeves has like the highest ceiling, but I think the floor on Austin Reeves is pretty solid. I think the minutes are going to be very strong. He's going to probably play low to mid-30s minutes pretty much every night for this Lakers team. So I'm definitely interested in Austin Reeves at 6,100. I think the minutes are very secure for him. I think the minutes could be a little bit less secure for a guy like D'Angelo Russell. We did see at times last season, and especially in the postseason, D'Angelo Russell's minutes did get cut down a little bit. He does have some competition behind him with Gabe Vincent backing him up, so I'm not as confident in Russell as I am in Reeves. I also think at Russell's price, he's not going to project as well as Reeves does. So if I had to choose between one of those Lakers guards, I would rather go to Reeves over Russell. Russell's a fine GBP play, not someone that I'm super interested in though on this slate. And then talking about some of the other values, I guess we'll talk about Taurean Prince since he's the last starter that we haven't talked about. He's only 3,500. I'm expecting Taurean Prince to get a pretty good amount of ownership here just because he is really cheap. He is expected to start. Now, Taurean Prince has never been like the greatest per minute producer. When he's on the floor, he's really just out there for spacing. He's a three-point shooter. He's not going to get a ton of rebounds. He's really not going to get any assists. He might get you some defensive stats, but in order for Taurean Prince to put up a decent game, you need him to knock down threes. Since he is playing with LeBron, you do expect there to be plenty of spacing. LeBron's so good at just spacing out the floor and finding his open guys that I think Taurean Prince will have opportunity to produce at this price tag. At this price, we obviously don't need Taurean Prince to go out there and put up 40 Draftkings points. You don't need that at 3,500. If he gives you 23, 24 DK points at his price tag, he's probably going to be pretty good. And on this slate, there's not a ton of great value this cheap. So since he is only 3,500 and there is kind of a lack of value on the slate, I think Taurean Prince is a solid value here. I do worry that in tournaments his ownership could be pretty high. And he is someone that, if he's going to be really chalky, there's definitely a merit to fade him because he's just not that good of a permanent producer. But if we're just talking about raw points per dollar wise, in terms of best values, I think he is one of the better value plays on the slate from a points per dollar perspective at 3,500. And then looking at these bench guys for the Lakers, so Rui Hachimura, even though he is going to come off the bench, I do expect Rui to still have a pretty good role. I still expect him to play probably mid-20s minutes, could maybe even get into the low 30s if things are going really well. I think the real question is, will Taurean Prince be in the closing lineup, or are they going to close with Rui over Taurean Prince? Because I think Rui is a guy that could definitely eat into Taurean Prince's minutes. So I don't think I wouldn't play Taurean Prince and Rui together. I think there is some negative correlation there, and I think those two guys are pretty unlikely to close together. But at 5,100, I think Rui's fine. I wish he was a little bit cheaper. He's a playable option on this slate, but I don't love him at this price tag, especially since he is coming off the bench. And then Gabe Vincent's going to come off the bench as well. He was obviously great for Miami last season, and especially in the postseason, he was really good. I don't know if he's going to have a good enough role with this Lakers team to be worth rostering. It's really hard to tell how many minutes Gabe Vincent's going to play. Is he just going to back up D'Angelo Russell? Are they going to play Reeves and Russell, or are they going to play Vincent and Russell together? That's kind of something we'll have to see. At 4,500, I think Vincent's an okay value play, but I wish he was a little bit cheaper. I would assume he probably plays like 18 to 20 minutes, which makes him a viable option on a 2-game slate, but definitely not a guy that I'm like running to roster. And really no one else on the Lakers I really like for value. You might see minutes for like Max Christie, but I don't think at 3,800 he's going to be worth rostering. Maybe Cam Reddish gets a couple minutes, but I don't think he's someone I really want to go to. This Lakers team, in terms of their bench, it's really hard to tell, at least from a value perspective, of these bench guys, who's going to be like the best value play. If I had to play any of the bench guys, I feel best about either Rui or Vincent. Those are the two guys I like most. I think Christie, Reddish, these guys were dart throws, but not guys that I'm super interested in. So I think that's pretty much it for the Lakers. We kind of talked about everything there. Let's talk about the Nuggets now. And this Nuggets team, they're pretty similar to their team last season. They didn't make a ton of changes over the offseason. They should roll out the same starting lineup that they did last season. Jamal Murray, KCP, MPJ, Aaron Gordon, Jokic. That should be their starting lineup for this game. Bench-wise, they don't have a ton of bench depth. Their bench is not that good, but we'll definitely talk about some of the guys for cheap that we could consider on the bench. But looking at the starters first, you have Jokic coming in at 10,000 or 10K. I think Jokic is probably the best pay-up option on this slate by a good margin. Jokic has just always been a great fantasy producer. He's a great point-per-minute player. The price tag on Jokic is too cheap here. The pricing in general on this slate is kind of soft, at least from from the studs perspective. Now, value-wise, again, there isn't a ton of value I love, but if we're talking about like 8K and above, you could argue that all these guys, 8K and above, all the studs, I guess you could say, are underpriced here. Fast forward a week from today, you'll probably see Jokic priced at like 12K. I mean, he's not going to be 10K for the entire season. So Jokic is definitely underpriced here. He's a great fantasy producer. He averages like 1.7 Draftkings points per minute, I'm pretty sure. He's going to play good minutes. Matchup against the Lakers, I think, is fine. Jokic is probably the top play on the slate by a good margin, I think. And then the rest of the Nuggets, Jamal Murray at 7,500, I think is a solid play in the mid-range. We saw Jamal Murray be great for the Nuggets last season in the postseason. He's really turned a corner and has really become like the clear number 2 option on this Nuggets team. And we've seen Murray be able to show, post big fantasy games, show a lot of fantasy upside. Not only is he a great scorer, but he can rack up assists. He can get you some rebounds as well. At 7,500, totally fine going to Jamal Murray on the slate. And then Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon, I don't have a ton of conviction when it comes to those two guys. I think they're both in play here. But we saw, the last season, Michael Porter Jr., he's someone that does have upside. He's a guy that can knock down threes. He's a really good rebounder. But the minutes can sometimes be a little bit spotty for Michael Porter Jr. He can be kind of a liability on the defensive end at sometimes. I think at 5,800, he's still in play on the slate, but I don't have a strong take when it comes to MPJ. I think the same could be said for Aaron Gordon at 5,700. These are not guys that I feel like I'm going to be rostering much this season, especially when we're talking about full slates. But since it is a 2-game slate, you kind of have to look to guys like MPJ and Aaron Gordon. But typically for me, when it comes to this Nuggets team, I'm just, I really look at Jokic, I look at Jamal Murray. I don't have a ton of interest in really anyone else just because the usage is so dominated by Jokic and Murray that you never really see consistent upside from anyone else on this Nuggets team. But MPJ and Aaron Gordon are both fine. Like if I'm building out a lineup and they fit into my lineup, I'm fine playing them. But I don't think I'm like starting my lineup with either one of those guys. And then KCP should start, probably plays like 30 minutes. KCP's a pretty low upside guy. He doesn't do much besides kind of shoot threes. He'll maybe grab a few rebounds. He'll maybe get you a couple of assists. At 4,800, He's your typical just kind of like okay value play. I would question the ceiling though on KCP. Rarely does KCP go out there and put up a score that you have to have. He's definitely someone that I think if he comes in popular in GBPs, he's someone that I am totally fine fading in GBPs because I think there's a low ceiling for KCP. But if we're talking about guys below 5K that project to play 30 plus minutes, you can't really look at many guys below 5K that project to play 30 plus minutes. I mean, KCP's one guy, and that's really it. Like, I don't even think Taurean Prince plays 30 minutes. I doubt Josh Okogie plays 30 minutes. Like, there's no one below 5K that's going to see the minutes that KCP will. So, minutes alone, I think, do make KCP a okay value play. Again, just question the ceiling on him a little bit. And then if we're talking about these bench guys for Denver, I mean, I would expect, Christian Braun gets decent minutes off the bench. I would expect Reggie Jackson gets decent minutes. Probably Zeke Naji gets minutes. Justin Holiday. These are all low usage guys for the most part. Reggie Jackson is someone that has shown to be an okay fantasy point per minute player when he does get opportunity. How much is he going to play? I don't know. I would say he probably gets like 12 to 14 minutes, which on a 2-game slate, that makes him a viable option. But the Nuggets bench depth, or I wouldn't say bench depth, but their bench value, I'm just not in love with. I mean, Christian Braun, he showed some upside last season in the postseason. Like, he was someone that they did consistently give minutes to, but he's kind of a low usage guy that doesn't contribute a ton besides just shooting threes. I mean, we saw last season, even in 18, 20 minutes, he can still go out there and put up just 7 or 8 DraftKings points. But I think his minutes are probably the most secure. Of all the bench guys for Denver, I think Christian Braun's minutes are the most secure. So he's, I guess, the guy that I feel best about. Then Reggie Jackson, For when it comes to the backup center minutes, I'm guessing DeAndre Jordan and Zeke Naji will get the backup center minutes. Maybe it'll just be Jordan. Maybe they'll split them between Naji and Jordan. Neither one of those guys I really have a ton of interest in. I mean, Jokic is going to play 34, 35 minutes. So at most, you're going to get 11, 12 minutes for Jordan or Naji. Or they could just go 6 minutes for Jordan, 6 minutes for Naji. I don't know how Denver's going to run their rotation. But I don't have a ton of interest in the backup centers for Denver. Justin Holiday is a new addition for this Denver team. He is really cheap, $3,200. Another just low usage player that when he's on the floor is not going to contribute much outside of just standing in the corner and shooting threes. But he is super cheap at $3,200. I would assume he does play probably 12 to 15 minutes here. He's a fine option if you're looking for a punt play. I think he's more of a GBP option, but I don't hate going to Justin Holiday here. And that's really it for Denver. I don't think I'm considering anyone else on this team. So that does it for the first game of the night. Now let's go and talk about the next game, or the last game of the night, the Suns-Warriors. We'll start off on the Suns side. So looking at the Suns here, we pretty much know who their starting lineup's going to be, or at least we know 4 of the 5 starters. We know 4 of the 5 starters are going to be KD, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Yusuf Nurkic. The 5th starter, it could be Grayson Allen, it could be Josh Okogie. Right now, Underdog, they're the number one site I look at for news and for starting lineups. They have Josh Okogie in the projected starting lineup, so I'm guessing it'll be Okogie starting for Phoenix. We'll start off with the starters first, and obviously the top guys. Kevin Durant's 8,400, Devin Booker's 8,300. I think these two guys project pretty closely when it comes to their fantasy just point projection. Between the two, I do give a slight edge to Kevin Durant. I know we saw Devin Booker really turn a corner last season and show a lot of upside, but I still think KD is the better per minute producer than Booker. KD is someone that can contribute with rebounds, he can contribute with assists, whereas Booker is kind of a little bit more scoring dependent. And KD, again, he's only power forward eligible, which is kind of annoying. I figured DraftKings would have him small forward, power forward. He's only power forward eligible, which does make him a little bit tougher to roster, not as much flexibility there. But I think KD is a strong pay-up option. I think he's probably my second favorite pay-up option on this slate behind Jokic. You are getting a big discount on KD, only $8,400 compared to Jokic, who's $10K. I still think Jokic is worth the $10K price tag, but definitely think KD looks good here, $8,400. And then Devin Booker at $8,300, I have no issue going to either. The only thing only knock I have against Booker is that he is a little bit more scoring dependent. Like I said, he's not going to get as many rebounds, as many assists as Kevin Durant will. He might get the same amount of assists as Durant, but rebounding wise, you definitely get a higher floor and ceiling from a rebounding perspective with KD. And scoring wise, I think they project to score pretty similarly. I was looking at some points props. I think their points props are pretty much identical for this game. I don't have an issue going to Booker. Slightly prefer KD here, but we know that Booker's going to have a big role, going to play big minutes. He's going to have the ball in his hands more this season without Chris Paul on the team. So I definitely think Devin Booker's in play on the slate at $8,300. And then Bradley Beal, What's his role going to be like on the Suns team? We don't really know. Obviously, this, playing for a new team, but we've seen Bradley Beal be a good fantasy producer. We've seen him be a guy that can handle a big workload, can play big minutes. Obviously, his usage is probably going to be lower this season, playing with Kevin Durant and with Devin Booker. But I would expect Phoenix to stagger the minutes with these guys. Like I assume Phoenix is going to have at least one of Beal, Booker, or Durant on the floor at all times. They're going to have one of those three guys on the floor at all times. So Beal might get some minutes on the floor without Booker, without Durant, and he should be really productive in those minutes. He's only 6,900, and 6,900 is a really cheap price tag for Bradley Beal. This is typically a guy we see priced in the low 8K range. I know he's on a different team, and his role could be different, but I definitely think Bradley Beal is underpriced here. I do like him a lot at 6,900. He's probably my second favorite Sun behind Kevin Durant. I think I would rank them, when you factor in price, I would rank them Durant, Beal, Booker. And then you have Jusuf Nurkic on a new team as well. We know what we're going to get from Nurkic. He's a good fantasy producer. Minutes are always a big question for Nurkic. When he was on Portland, some nights he would only play like 24 minutes. Some nights he'd play 34 minutes. I assume on this Suns team, we'll probably see Nurkic play like 30, 32 minutes a night. I assume he'll have kind of the same role that DeAndre Ayton did. And Nurkic is, he's a good fantasy producer. He's a guy that can average well over a fantasy point per minute. When you're talking about this slate as a whole, I don't think Nurkic projects that well, but when you look at the center position, you do have to play at least one center, and if you look at the center position, if you're not paying up for Jokic or AD, you really don't have a ton of other great options. So if you can't get up to Jokic or AD at center, I think obviously Nurkic is probably the next best play. That alone makes him someone I'm interested in on this slate. And again, Nurkic is such a good permanent producer that he's someone that I'm kind of always interested in for DFS. Just you got to hope the minutes are there, which I think on this Suns team, the minutes will be pretty secure for him as their starting center. And then lastly, we will talk about Josh Okogie, since he is projected to be the fifth starter for Phoenix. Josh Okogie's usage, I think, is going to be pretty low on this Suns team, just because the usage is going to be dominated by the four other guys that we just talked about. He's very similar to Taurean Prince to me. Like, the minutes should be decent for Okogie. I guess I would assume he plays like 24, 25 minutes here. But I do expect him to be a low usage player. I would expect him to struggle to put up a ton of fantasy points. But if we're talking about guys below 5K, again, that offer value, there's not a ton of guys below 5K that project to play more than like 20, 25 minutes. So Okogie alone, if he is starting, I think is someone we can consider as a value option at 4K. I would just temper expectations a little bit. And then looking at the bench guys for the Suns, this is a team, they have a lot of guys they could potentially play here. If I had to guess, I would assume Eric Gordon has a pretty secure bench role. I'd assume Grayson Allen has a pretty secure bench role. I'd assume Drew Eubanks is going to back up Nurkic as the backup center. And then Nasir Little, I think, will probably get minutes. Maybe Bol gets minutes. I don't know. Maybe they give minutes to KBD. Like, I could see this Suns team running kind of a deep bench and playing like 6-7 guys off the bench. So if we're talking about the guys that I'm most confident in off the bench for Phoenix, it's definitely Allen and Gordon. And obviously Eubanks, he'll get the backup center minutes, but I don't think he's viable at his price tag. Grayson Allen, when he was on Milwaukee, was never a high usage player. I assume he'll kind of have a similar role on this Suns team. He'll just kind of be like a spot-up shooter. He's not really going to rebound or get a ton of assists, but if he can get hot from three, if he can knock down some threes, he's got upside. I just think at 4,900, it's going to be tough for Grayson Allen to pay off this price tag, especially if he is coming off the bench. Now, if he does wind up starting over Okogie, then I would feel a little bit better about Allen, but I don't love him at his price tag regardless. Eric Gordon, though, at 4,300, I do kind of like as a value play, just because Gordon is someone that can do a little bit of everything when he's on the floor. He's a guy that can handle the ball. He can knock down threes. He's someone that I think will probably play low 20s minutes a night for this Suns team, and he can play multiple positions. He can play point guard, he can play shooting guard, he can play three. He's a guy that they can just kind of play everywhere. So at 4,300, I do like Eric Gordon as a value play. Of all the Suns bench guys, he's definitely the guy I'm most confident in at his price tag, and he's the guy that I have the most interest in. But then if you want to take shots on some of these other bench guys, you can. I'm just worried that, like, I think there's definitely a chance that, you could play like KBD and he might be a DMP. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know how many bench guys this Suns team's going to play, but they have a lot of guys they could give minutes to. Again, if I'm taking anyone off the bench for Phoenix, I think Eric Gordon is the play that I'm most confident in. But that probably does it for Phoenix. Let's go ahead and talk about the Warriors now before we wrap up this video. So looking at Golden State, projected starting lineup for Golden State should be the same starting lineup they had last season. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, Kevon Looney. Now, I do want to mention that Draymond Green did not play at all in the postseason, so, and I think he's dealing with an ankle injury, right? Or not in the postseason, the preseason, excuse me. So Draymond did not play at all in the preseason. He's dealing with an ankle injury right now, so we don't know yet if Draymond's actually going to be ready to play for this game. I assume he will play. If Draymond doesn't play, then we'll have to decide who would start in place of Draymond. They could start Chris Paul and then just move everybody down, play Curry at the 2, Clay at the 3, Wiggins at the 4, or they could start like Jonathan Kuminga in place of Draymond. That's kind of up in the air right now. We'll have to keep an eye on that, but I think for now, I'm just going to assume that Draymond plays and he is starting. So looking at the Warriors here, Steph Curry's coming in at 9,200. I think Curry's a strong pay-up option on the slate. I still would rank him probably behind Jokic, probably behind Durant when you factor in price tag, because you got to think, Kevin Durant is what, $800 cheaper than Curry? Yeah, $800 cheaper. AD's cheaper. Like, there's a lot of guys that are cheaper than Curry here. But Curry's going to have a massive role on this Warriors team. He's going to dominate usage when he's on the floor. Even though he will be splitting minutes at point guard with Chris Paul, I still think when Curry's on the floor, he's going to have the ball in his hands a ton. He's still a strong pay-up option on this slate. I would rank him probably behind Jokic and behind Durant. I think Jokic and Durant are my 2 favorite spin-ups, at least right now. And then Klay Thompson, we know what we're going to get from Klay Thompson. He's just, a guy that's going to knock down threes. Not going to contribute a ton else, though, with rebounds and assists, but the scoring's always there. Klay's a boom-bust guy. If he's knocking down his shots, he has a super high ceiling. If he's not hitting his shots, then there's definitely a lower floor on Klay Thompson because you don't really get that safe, floor when it comes to the peripherals. Like, he's not getting you 7, 8 rebounds. He's not going to get 6, 7 assists. He did have some games in the postseason where those stats were up, but that largely could have been due to the minutes being high as well. At 6,500, I think Klay, I'm not really, I don't have a strong take when it comes to Klay. I think he's fine, but definitely not someone that I'm running to roster on this slate. And then Draymond, if he does play at 5,900, I think it's okay. And another guy that I don't have a ton of conviction on, but we know what we're going to get from Draymond. He's someone that's going to contribute in all categories when he's on the floor. He does give you a pretty high floor as long as he can stay out of foul trouble, just because he is going to do so much when he's out there. He does have triple-double upside. We've seen Draymond post triple-doubles before. He's 5,900. I think that's cheap enough to put Draymond in play on this slate. So if Draymond is indeed playing Tuesday night, if he's starting, I think at 5,900, he looks like a solid option. And then Chris Paul is 5,600. Chris Paul, kind of a tough guy to project this season just because we don't exactly know what his role is going to be with on this Warriors team. Is he going to start? Is he going to come off the bench? I assume he comes off the bench, but that's just my guess right now. If Chris Paul does come off the bench, I would still expect him to play probably 24 to 28 minutes a night. If he winds up starting, I think there's a chance he plays 30, 31, 32 minutes. And Chris Paul, even at this point in his career, he is still a good fantasy producer. He is still someone that can, contribute in all categories. He's actually a decent rebounding guard. He can get you 4, 5, 6 rebounds. We obviously know he's a great facilitator. He can still score at this point in his career. He's only 5,600. That's really cheap for Chris Paul, even though his role might be a little bit different on this Warriors team. I still think at this price tag, he looks like a pretty good play on the slate. Between him or Draymond, I think I actually would prefer Chris Paul, especially if he's starting. But even if he comes off the bench, I think Chris Paul still looks good at 5,600. And then Andrew Wiggins at 5,500, I think it's also a little cheap here. He looks like a decent mid-range play. Between, you have Draymond, Andrew Wiggins, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., all 4 of those guys are priced very similarly. I think all 4 of those guys are very similar plays. Of the 4, though, I think Wiggins is probably my favorite, just because we have seen Wiggins have a good role on this Warriors team. Minutes are very secure for him. He's someone that they can play at multiple positions. He's a good defender, so they probably want him out there as much as possible in this matchup against the Suns team that has really good scores that you need to defend. So the minutes should be very secure for Wiggins here. At 5,500, he's definitely too cheap for a guy that probably plays 34, 35, 36 minutes and should average close to a fantasy point per minute. And the Kevon Looney's coming in at 5,300. We kind of know the deal with Looney. When he is on the floor, he's not going to do a ton of scoring, but he is a great rebounder. He's one of the best rebounders in the league, and he can get you, he can get you 30, 35 Draftkings points just from rebounding. He's just so good on the glass. The only thing I worry about with Looney is that we do see at times the Warriors will be willing to play small ball, and sometimes they'll play Draymond at the 5. They'll get rid of Looney. By some chance, if Draymond doesn't play in this game, I think that secures Looney's minutes. I also think this matchup against Nurkic, you probably want Looney out there, to match up with Nurkic just from a size perspective. So I would expect Looney to probably play like 24, 25 minutes here. And if Draymond doesn't wind up playing, I think there's definitely a chance we could see Looney play like 27, 28 minutes. At 5,300, I think Looney's fine. I definitely would prefer Wiggins. I think his minutes are more safer. I think he probably offers just the same amount of upside. But Looney, we know he can stuff the stat sheet when he's out there. He's a great rebounder. At 5,300, I'm fine with Looney on the slate. And then if we're talking about the value guys from the Warriors, if we're looking at the bench guys, this is another team that I have a tough time projecting what their bench is going to look like, who's going to get the minutes off the bench. But I think we can definitely expect Jonathan Kuminga to get minutes, probably Gary Payton to get minutes. I would assume Podziemski. I think he's their rookie they drafted. I definitely think he's going to get minutes. He'll be out there for sure. After that, I think Moses Moody probably gets minutes. He was a key part of their rotation last season. I don't think that changes this season. So there's you got 4 guys off the bench. You probably see minutes. Maybe Rudy Gay. It's always tough projecting benches, bench rotations early on in the season, just because you don't know what it's going to look like. But if we are looking at bench guys from the Warriors, I think the guys I'm most confident in are probably Kuminga and Payton. Now, do I want to play them in DFS at their price tags? I don't think so. Kuminga, he is someone that can flash upside, and I know he had some big games during the preseason. But when the Warriors are fully healthy, he just wasn't able to carve out a good enough role to be consistently viable in DFS. Now, with Draymond banged up, and if Draymond winds up sitting out this game, then yeah, Kuminga is going to be someone we definitely want to look to for value. But assuming Draymond's healthy, I expect Kuminga still probably plays like 18, 20 minutes. I don't know if he plays enough, though, to be worth rostering at 4,600. Gary Payton's going to get some minutes as well, but he's also shown he's not really shown a ton of fantasy upside just throughout his career since he's been with the Warriors. Now that they have Chris Paul, they have another guard they can give minutes to. So at 3,900, Gary Payton's fine. Not a guy that I really have a ton of conviction on, though. And then Podziemski, I don't know a ton about this guy. I didn't really watch him much during the preseason, but I would expect him to probably get 15 to 20 minutes most nights. In terms of a points per minute perspective, it's hard to say if he's going to be a good or bad per minute producer just because we haven't seen him play any regular season minutes yet. I know in the preseason, you can look at preseason stuff, but again, with preseason, it's kind of tough because a lot of these guys are playing without the star players, and when the star players are on the floor, they're going to be the ones dominating the usage. But I would expect Pods to get 15, 20 minutes most likely. At 3,800, I think he's worth a shot in GBPs. You could definitely go there. I think all these Warriors bench guys, besides Chris Paul, are going to be kind of like GPP dart throws. I don't think any of them are going to project significantly better than the other. So if you want to take a shot on a Kuminga or a Payton or a Paz, I'm fine with that. I don't think there's anyone else I'd consider, though. You're just kind of throwing darts if you go to guys like Rudy Gay, Moses Moody. I think that's it for the Warriors. And I think that's it for this 2-game slate, guys. Somehow still managed to make this video over 30 minutes long. So if you guys did enjoy this one, appreciate you watching as always. Hit that like button if you guys did enjoy. I know this is a long video for a 2-game slate, but I wanted to give you guys as much information as possible, for this 2-gamer. Tried to break down rotations, talk about, starting lineups and stuff like that. Hopefully this video did help you guys. If you enjoyed, hit that like button down below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. We're going to be uploading NBA DFS videos all season long. We're going to be making PrizePicks videos as well, and I will be making a PrizePicks video for this 2-game slate for Tuesday night. We'll be talking about some props I like for Tuesday night slate. I'll probably make that video later tonight, Monday night, and it'll go up probably a couple hours after this video goes up. So if you're going to be playing PrizePicks this NBA season and you want to know some props I like, check out the channel later in the night after this video gets posted, and I'll have a video with some props I like. And if you're not on PrizePicks yet, get signed up for PrizePicks. Use that promo code NOAH. You will get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you sign up for PrizePicks with my promo code. But good luck tonight, guys. Thanks as always for watching the video, supporting the content. Super excited for NBA to be back. Hopefully, this will be a good 2-game slate. Hopefully, no blowouts on opening night. I would like to see 2 competitive games. That would be great. But good luck, guys. Thanks for watching as always, and we'll see you in the next video.